Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope your day and your week are going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 5 NBA player props to go ahead and share with you guys in tonight's NBA slate. But first, before we dive into today's picks, we do have to do, unfortunately, a quick little recap of how I did last night. And yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and put the plunger of shame on because we had a crappy night last night. 0-3. We did give out 4 picks originally. D'Angelo Russell did not play. 0-3 overall. Lost 3 units last night. Really unfortunate performance. Not really much I can go ahead and say. I look ridiculous with this on, but that's the whole point of it. It's a punishment for having such a shitty night last night. Just flushed me down the toilet with the performance yesterday. But if you guys have watched my videos before, I always like to say, if you're fortunate enough, if God gives you the opportunity, you get the chance to wake up the next day and try again at whatever you do. In our case, it's sports betting, and we have another chance to go ahead and make some money today. So last night, we're flushing it down the toilet. We're throwing the plunger away. New day, 5 player props. Let's go ahead and share today's picks with you guys. We are wasting no time, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first pick in today's NBA slate, and by the way, guys, these are all single bets, meaning you bet them individually, not as parlays or anything else. Of course, if you want to do that, you absolutely have the right to do that. I'm just giving you guys the picks. You can do whatever you'd like with them, but these are meant to be bet as single bet picks. But our first pick comes from the Suns-Hornets game, 7 p.m. tip-off. I'm going Cody Martin of the Charlotte Hornets over 12.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, which we're getting for minus 110 odds on BetMGM. It is available on multiple sportsbooks also for varying odds if you guys don't have BetMGM available to you. And unlike yesterday's video where we had a lot of bad spots, a lot of bad data, today's video, the data is a lot better in these spots. We took some gambles yesterday and it didn't pay off, but that's why they call it a gamble. He's cashed this over in 8 of his last 10 games, an 80% hit rate, averaging 15.2 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. Pretty good numbers. Even if you look at the overall data, if we stretch that out to the season numbers, 22 out of 32 games he's cashed this over. That's a 69, pause for applause, percent hit rate, which is actually really, really solid, averaging 15.44 points plus rebounds plus assists per game this year. And the head-to-head data, it's a very small sample size, and he hasn't played Phoenix in over a year. You got to go back to December 29th of 2023. So over a year ago is the last time he played the Phoenix Suns. He did cash the over in that game with 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. And we also have the insights provided by Outlier here. Cody Martin has exceeded 12.5 points plus rebounds plus assists in 7 straight games at home. He's actually averaging 17.7 points plus rebounds plus assists per game over his last 7 home games. So really good numbers across the board here at home for Cody Martin. And this isn't just the last 7 games. His numbers at home overall this year have been really, really solid. An 81% hit rate at home for Cody Martin this year. 13 out of 16 home games, he's cashed the over, averaging 17.31 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. If we compare that to the road games, well, you just kind of take those numbers out. He's hit only 9 times on the road this year. 9 out of 16 games. Still not a horrible spot on the road, but definitely not the numbers that he's putting up when he plays at home. So whatever way you want to spin this, guys, he's putting up really good numbers. Now, for his usage rate and whatnot, he doesn't play a ton of minutes, but over the last 10 games, he is averaging about 26 minutes per game. If we narrow that down to just the last 5 games for Cody Martin, his minutes per game do drop down to 22 minutes per game. You see of late, he hasn't been playing a ton of minutes in a lot of these spots. However, all that being said, despite only playing about 22 minutes per game over the last 5 games, you still have an 80% hit rate. He's cashed it in 4 out of 5. So even with the lower minutes, he's still hitting this number at a pretty high rate. Phoenix overall, not a terrible defensive team, but not a good one either. 19th in points, 17th in rebounds, 19th in assists overall. Cody Martin, he plays between the 2 and the 3. He's primarily listed as a small forward. He can kind of play in a couple different positions, but if we look at his primary position as a small forward, Phoenix overall this year, 6th in points, 18th in rebounds, and 15th in assists allowed. If we go ahead and refer over to the NBA dashboard, which you can find over at GuyBostonSports.com if you become a member, obviously, there's more information down below in the link in the description if you guys are interested in that. Over the last 7 games, you look at the Phoenix Suns here versus small forwards. Yeah, the point scoring, they're still a top 10 defense in terms of points allowed to the small forward position, but they are bottom 5 in both rebounds and assists allowed. to the small forward position. So there's still a pretty decent matchup overall here for Cody Martin. Again, considering all the data we've shown so far, all the cashes he's had, I think it's a pretty safe spot to go ahead and rock with his over here. All right, guys, our second pick in today's slate, we're moving on to Lakers Mavericks, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We got Dorian Finney-Smith of the LA Lakers over 12.5 points, rebounds, assists, literally the exact same line we just gave up for Cody Martin. Over 12.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Look at the last 10 game data, 60% hit rate. Now, obviously, he's been with the Lakers for only about 4 games so far. He's cashed it over in 2 out of 4 games with the Lakers. You see his first 2 games had really low scoring performances, really low totals in all of his numbers. The last 2 games, he's starting to become more comfortable. He's starting to kind of figure himself out in this Lakers team. And you can see his numbers are starting to increase across the board. Every game since he's joined the Lakers, his numbers have increased. So from a data standpoint, it's hard to really look at Dorian Finney-Smith and figure out what the numbers mean because his overall season data is pretty solid. 67% hit rate, 16 out of 24 games he's cashed, is averaging 15.63 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. And the head-to-head data, the last time that he faced off with the Dallas Mavericks, last time as a member of the Brooklyn Nets on October 27th of 2023 last year, he had 12.7 rebounds and 3 assists and blew through this number. Now, the thing to note there, he played 32 minutes in that game, and of course, he was a Brooklyn Net at the time. Let's go ahead and look at the last 5 games. We can kind of narrow down what he's playing with the Lakers again. You will have that one Nets game in there as a data point, but overall, you see he's averaging about 24 minutes per game since joining the Lakers. You see 20, 24, 23, 26. His most minutes played was his last game out versus the Rockets. So you know he's going to play at least 20 minutes, in that range of 20 to 25 minutes or so in this spot. And again, I mean, he hits a decent amount of volume. His last game out, he had 9 shots, shot 5 for 9 overall, 7.6 rebound chances. He actually didn't have a ton versus Houston, but, overall, not bad numbers here for Dorian Finney-Smith. Remember, guys, the line is low here. It's not like this is like a 20.5 points, rebounds, assists. If that was the case, I'd hammer the under here. But at 12.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, I think his usage rate and his volume is enough where I think he will go ahead and have a good chance to cash this over. Versus power forwards and small forwards, Dallas overall, small forwards a much better spot here. 16th in points, 23 rebounds, 29th in assists. Dorian Finney-Smith can play between both positions. He's primarily a power forward. Versus power forwards, Dallas, middle of the road, 14th in points, 15th in rebounds, and 8th in assists. And referring back to the dashboard, guys, again, you see here defense versus position over the last 7 games. And Dallas, actually over the last 7 games versus power forwards, 30th in points, 14th in rebounds, and 22nd in assists. So the overall numbers aren't terrible, but the last 7 game data looks really, really solid in our favor. So I like this spot here for Dorian Finney-Smith. It's minus 125 on DraftKings and pretty decent value on this one as well. All right, guys, next up we got Timberwolves Pelicans, 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going CJ McCollum of the New Orleans Pelicans under 8.5 rebounds plus assists, which we're getting for minus 125 on DraftKings. It is also available, of course, on FanDuel here. He's cashed this under in 5 of his last 10 games, a 50% hit rate, averaging 8 rebounds plus assists per game. So he's teetering around that line. He had a couple of really big games a couple weeks ago, but overall not too bad. Overall in 2024, 61% hit rate, 14 out of 23 games. McCollum has cashed this under, averaging 7.78 rebounds plus assists per game this season. His numbers, he had a couple of really big games that kind of drive that data, that average up. But if you look at the overall numbers, he cashes this under pretty consistently. And, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, he's not like where he's like, he's averaging 7.78 rebounds plus assists, which when you see that average, you would think, okay, well, every game he's getting close and close and close. Not really. I mean, he's usually about a rebound and assist or 2 off every single game, minus a couple big games there. So pretty good data across the board, and the head-to-head data is also solid. Each of his last 2 meetings with the Minnesota Timberwolves, both coming last season, he cashed the under. Pretty close catches, but cashes nonetheless, finishing with 8 rebounds and assists in both those games. Minnesota has struggled this year, but the one thing that remains consistent with them is their defense versus rebounds and assists. They're actually top 10 in both those spots, not giving up a ton of rebounds and not giving up a ton of assists. Versus shooting guards, very good assist numbers. The rebound numbers are not as good, 18th, giving up 8 rebounds per game. But again, referring back to the dashboard here, look at Minnesota, the last 7 games, first rebound, the best defense in the NBA in terms of rebounds allowed to shooting guards, and 15th in assists. So it's kind of flipped, right? In the overall data, the rebounds are about middle of the road. The assists are really good. Over the last 7 games, the rebounds, they've been really good. The assists, about middle of the road. But overall, I think it's a really solid matchup here for McCollum to cash this under. The overall data looks pretty solid across the board. Even his last 20 games, 55% hit rate, 11 of his last 20, he's cashed the under. So I'm willing to go ahead and wire with this spot. Again, minus 125, pretty good value on this as well. And then, guys, my final 2 picks in today's video are both coming from the Celtics-Nuggets game, which has a 10 p.m. tip-off. But, guys, if you're still watching at this point in today's video, we're about to hit the 10-minute mark, so please go ahead and comment 10 down below if you are still watching at this point in today's video. As always, we appreciate those who watch all the way through and for your continued support of the videos, whether we win, whether we lose like we did horribly last night. We appreciate those who support us and watch through the whole video. So comment 10 down below if you're watching today's video, at this point, I should say. All right, so our first of 2 picks from this game, our 4th pick overall, we're going with Jokic here over 49.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, which we're getting from -125 on DraftKings here. Look, the data is really solid. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, including 6 in a row, a 70% hit rate overall over the last 10, averaging 54.6 points plus rebounds plus assists per game over his last 10 games. So far in 2024, for this line being -125, it's pretty impressive. 71% hit rate on the over, 22 out of 31 games he's cashed it, averaging 54.26 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. Jokic, although the Nuggets aren't having a great year, he's having a fantastic season. The head-to-head data also really, really solid. You see each of the last 2 times he played Boston, both last year, he cashed the overs both times, averaging 55 points plus rebounds plus assists per game against Boston last season. And there's that last 5 game data. He's really been going crazy over the last 5 games, averaging 62.2 points plus rebounds plus assists per game, 100% hit rate. We also have the insights provided by Outlier here. Nikola Jokic has exceeded 50.5 points plus rebounds plus assists in 12 of his last 15 games at home, averaging 52.8 points plus rebounds plus assists per game over his last 15 home games. So at home, the data is really, really solid. Across the board, the data is really, really solid here. And again, we're getting it at 49.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, So we're actually slicing one data point off. So it doesn't really matter. You can go 50.5 if you want to, but I'm taking 49.5. Always played on a little on the safer side. Boston defensively ranks really well versus centers, first in assists, first in rebounds, second in points. I don't buy it, though. I just don't buy. I think Jokic is a different animal. You can't count him as the rest of the centers. Again, the last 2 times he played Boston, he absolutely dominated them. They had no answer for him. I still don't think they're going to have an answer for him in these games, in this game today. So yeah, despite Boston obviously having this great defensive data, I love the spot here for Jokic, rocking with his over. And then, guys, for my 5th and final pick in today's video, we're going Derek White over 19.5 points plus assists, which we're getting from -105 here on BetMGM. He's cashed this in 6 of his last 10 games, a 60% hit rate, averaging 19.7 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. So far in 2024, a 77% hit rate on this over. 27 out of 35 games he's cashed it, averaging 21.54 points plus assists per game this season. He had a really strong start. He's teetered off a little bit, but it's still pretty consistent cashes for the most part here for Derek White. And if you look at the head-to-head data here, each of the last 2 times he's faced off with Denver, again, both being last year. One time he cashed it back on January 19th of last year. He had 24 points and 5 assists. Their second meeting did not go as well for Derek White, 7 points and 6 assists. But despite that, the matchup this time around looks really, really solid because Denver versus shooting guards this year has struggled. One of the worst teams defensively in the NBA against shooting guards, 29th in points overall, 28th in assists allowed overall to shooting guard. And again, guys, if we refer back to the dashboard, the last 7 game data just reiterates what we're talking about here. So the overall numbers are really good. The last 7 data, Denver 30th in points allowed to shooting guards, 28th in assists allowed to shooting guards. So, the overall data was 29 and 28. Now it's 30-28. What's been true all year long remains true over the last 7 games for Denver. So a really solid defensive matchup for Derek White, who's cashing this line at a 77% hit rate overall this year, 60% over his last 10 games, 65% over his last 20. Across the board, you've got a really, really solid spot. And if you have BetMGM, you can get it for -105 odds, which is really, really solid value. All right, guys, those are all 5 picks in today's NBA slate. Thank you very much, always, for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video, but until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Tuesday, guys. Great NBA slate on some good games, some good action. Go ahead and enjoy those games. We'll see you tomorrow.